G'day, guys. Welcome back to Statchat Sports. I'm here with Tazza, and Tazza, we're talking our Premier League. The podcast is back. We're firmly into pre-season now. We're actually 2 weeks, we're just over 2 weeks out of the season beginning. We're taking a page out of our AFL podcasts. We're going to do something similar here, work our way through the ladder and cover each teams in just a little bit, touch on the transfers there, how we think they're going to go throughout the season. So what we've done, the four of us, myself, Tazza, BT, and Josh, we've all put together a predicted season ladder and aggregated that. And we've got our teams going from 20th all the way to the top. So starting at the bottom today, Tazza, I'll hand to yourself who we've got finishing in the last spot.
All right. 20th position in the league ladder. This year, we're looking at a promoted team. We're looking at Fulham. It's going to be tough for Marco Silva to come back into the league, and I mean they've had some big outs. I think in that squad. Andre Zambo Anguissa is out off to Napoli. We've seen the much talked about Fabio Carvalho to Liverpool. He was a real it was really good for them last season, and obviously they finished top of the championship on the back of big effort from Alexander Mitrovic, which is it's going to be so hard for me. Is the one reason why they're not going to stay up is how the hell does he recreate that?
Yeah, no, definitely. You're talking completely different caliber of level from Championship to Premier League, and it's not the first time he's been. Actually, he's been in the league multiple times, but this is the second time he's been in the league with Fulham, and I don't remember him doing a great deal in that season. But I mean, look, he's going to be boosted with confidence. I mean, it's a record-breaking season for him. 43 goals in just about as many games in the Championship is pretty top. You know, he's still quality in the Championship, but it's just not quite obviously Premier League status. So yeah, that he's going to be detrimental for them to survive. But I kind of can't see it happening, which is why I had him smack bang at the bottom as well for me, and I know you did as well. But yeah, a couple of key losses there. That Fabio Carvalho, he's going to be big for them. Because that kind of link up between him and Mitrovic was top quality.
Yeah. From what I remember, Mitrovic had a huge start to the season the last time he was in the league, which would have been, I mean, they've been topsy-turvy in and out for the last, I think they've had 3 goes at each now. I think from 17-18 it was that they first entered so it would have been there. Yeah, they've gone up and down, yo-yoed quite a bit. And Mitrovic's last effort was great start, petered out really badly, and obviously Fulham ended up going down. So, yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, it's not going to be happy hunting for Marco Silva for me. I think hasn't had a whole lot of success in the Premier League, and probably will taste a few more defeats this time around.
Just quickly on the inbounds for them, a couple of signings to talk about. Not terrible. I mean, they've aimed to replace Carvalho with Andreas Pereira from United, who's got the Premier League experience, but they've also picked up João Palhinha as well, which is pretty good actually. I believe he was, unless I'm mistaking him with another Palhinha, I think he was. They've made okay transfer movements in terms of inbounds anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's the one you're thinking of. He was touted for some pretty decent things, and I mean, he's in the Premier League. It's not like he's completely fallen flat in his ass and he's not got himself a good move. I mean, if he makes a good impression, he could be off pretty quick anyway. But he gets his chance in the league, and I hope he does well. And the other big one, I wouldn't say big, but coming from a big club already in the league, Andreas Pereira from United. Never really hit his straps at United, showed promise, but I think he'll do all right there. I think this is probably, he was never quite good enough at United, and this might give him a bit of an opportunity for Pereira to shine.
And just before we move on, any other players we should be looking out for from Fulham that we haven't spoken about at the moment?
Old Liverpool boy Harry Wilson, probably.
He's not a bad little player.
Yeah. No, look, he's from memory, he's banged in some pretty decent goals from a set piece situation many a time. So look out for that. He might feature in the goal of the week, goal of the season conversation, but who knows?
Moving on to number 19, Leeds.
This is going to hurt for Leeds fans. Calvin Phillips, Rafinha, two of the club's biggest players just gone. Plenty of cash received, and they have invested, which is good to see. I mean, you hate to see the cornerstones of your team leave, but I mean, as Newcastle fans would attest to, all this money coming in and none of it being spent. I mean, Leeds fans, you've brought players in. It remains to be seen whether they're going to be much good. There's Rasmus Christensen. There's 4 players here: Christensen, Adams, Sinistera, and Aronson have all come from clubs that are known for producing talent. And I think that's probably the best thing for them. Salzburg, Leipzig, Feyenoord, and Salzburg again. They're really dipping into rich talent pools, which I like, but none of these guys we've seen in the league. The Premier League can be notoriously hard to adjust to. So I think this could go one of two ways. It could be a train wreck, or they could be a legitimate mid-table team.
No, it's an interesting point that you make there about the clubs that they've poached from this season. And I mean, I don't want to make any early calls, but they haven't really replaced their 2 key players that they've lost with sort of well-known talent, I would say. I mean, these players, might be known to some people, but they're not big name players or anything like that. So for me, it's almost like they're obviously preparing for the future, and if they do end up going down, a year's Premier League experience under the belt of these particular players will help them to bounce straight back up again, and then they can sort of rebuild a little bit from there. But I mean, it's worth pointing out that obviously the transfer window is still massively open, and there's still room for any team to bring in some players. So, I don't think this is the end of Leeds' spending, given the amount of cash that they did receive from Phillips and Rafinha. So, yeah, I think we do see maybe a couple more come in, maybe a centre half or a striker or whatever, given the problems they had with Bamford last year. But I see it as a tough year for them. None of the 4 of us had them finishing any higher than 18th. So still in the drop zone. It's not looking too great for them, I think, for me.
Leeds have definitely invested in the future, like you said, 100%, because Christensen is the oldest of those 4 transfers at 25. Adams 23, Sinistera 23, and Aronson's 21. So they're not looking for a quick fix, which I quite like. There might be some short-term pain, but as long as these guys hang around, if they do go down this year, they will hopefully see a bounce back. And I mean, it's pretty wrong of us for me to say to already put them down, and I'm looking into my crystal ball into next year, but it's kind of worst case scenario if that happens. Look, you've got some talent, build it and build with it, and it could turn out to be really good.
Moving on to our final relegation spot. It's another promotion, another promotional team. It's Bournemouth for me. Well, not just for me, for all of us, should I say. Based off of what we said about Fulham, looking back on it, it may sort of seem a little harsh for us to put Bournemouth ahead of Fulham, because looking at the transfer movements, and I suppose just the squads in general, I'd actually say Fulham have done the better business and probably have the better team.
Agreed. Yeah.
But as it is, it's landed at It's landed Fulham in 18th, but they don't really have a lot of Premier League experience in the side, I'd say. Um, they've made very little movement in the window so far. They've lost Gary Cahill, who is bags of experience, and they've brought in not a great deal. I mean, Ryan Frederick's the only one there with Premier League experience with West Ham, but even he hasn't played a great deal recently. So I'm worried for him. I'm worried for him. I'm almost tempted to just change this table on the fly and put Bournemouth last, because they worry for me. I mean, Dominic Solanke leads the line for them. I had a good season last season, 29 goals, but yeah, no, this isn't a striker with any sort of experience and talent in terms of goal scoring in the Premier League. He's ex-Liverpool player, did absolutely nothing there. Moved to Bournemouth, took a little bit to get started. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does here, but I don't think he's going to do a great deal for him, and he's key for them, being their number 9.
Yeah, it's a very similar situation to Fulham with Mitrovic. Two spearheads, and obviously Mitrovic has the better Premier League experience. So they both have Premier League experience, but one flopped, one, was reasonable. But yeah, I completely agree with you on the swapping Fulham Bournemouth call. I'm sitting here and just putting it all together and seeing it just putting it in front of me. I just really thought that, yeah, this team, I don't see how they have enough to stay up. There's not that you need star power. I mean, you need more of a solid team, a solid, resilient team when you're coming up. But I don't know if they have either. I just don't think there's enough backbone. And like you said, Gary Cahill's bags of experience. That you need those guys just to anchor. He may not play every single game, but you need them to anchor a team through tough times, which no doubt Bournemouth are going to go through. So, yeah, I'd love to revise my pick and put them dead last because, yeah, Fulham have a bit more going for them for me.
And I'd say Bournemouth do have it maybe a little bit tougher because Bournemouth never been known as a team with a lot of money. So they've had to sort of grind through the divisions, and it's when they made it to the league 2 or 3 years ago or whenever it was, that was really, it was good to see. Just a completely new face in the league, but it was kind of short lived for them. And yeah, they've got to invest more for me, but they just don't quite have the funds, that these other clubs do to do it. So yeah, that plays a factor for me.
Agreed. They were kind of that community club that everyone sort of just rose from nothing, and everyone was happy to see him there. And no doubt, I think most people would be quite happy to see him back again. But whether their stay is long or short, I mean, I'm probably going to lean more towards short. But yeah, it's good to see.
Our 17th pick is Southampton for this year. Maybe a bit of a surprise pick. BT picked them the highest here, 14th. They finished last year in at 15th, but from the tail end of their season, last season, I wasn't too impressed with what I saw. They really struggled. And much like Bournemouth in terms of transfers, not a lot of great business, I see. I mean, the majority of their spending has come from two blokes from Man City's under 23s, which is interesting in itself. I mean, are they expecting these players to come straight in? Not 100% sure. To be fair, they haven't really lost a great deal from their team besides maybe Fraser Forster, who would have had some part to play last year. But, from a team that, really looked a little bit under the weather and was really kind of underperforming from where we've seen Southampton be in recent years. They haven't done a lot so far to convince me that they'll finish much higher than just scraping survival for me.
I completely agree. Fraser Forster is a bit of a loss there, I think. He's a bit of a rough trot, sort of. He's been on and off with Southampton a bit in terms of form, but on his day, he is a pretty decent player, and we've seen him snatch games with his own gloves. But yeah, the Manchester City under 23 investment, heavy investment there for a club like Southampton that doesn't usually splash the cash. They've gone and spent almost £30 million on one under 23 program, which to me is, I mean, Manchester City don't have the worst academy in the world. That's for sure. But geez, it seems like a lot. I mean, we've seen plenty of decent blokes come out of there, but yeah, like you said, do they go straight in? Is it? Oh, I think they have to. I mean, if you're spending that kind of money at a club like that, I don't think they're there to warm the bench, or they're not exactly project players. They probably come straight in, and they're given a chance to forge a career for themselves straight up. But yeah, it's going to be really key that guys like Ward-Prowse and Livramento really carry on from last season. Livramento was a really nice addition from Chelsea, and Ward-Prowse, I mean, he's been doing it for years, holding that team up. It's a shame he hasn't got a chance anywhere else, because I think it would just be good to see what he could do in a different team. But yeah, huge. Ward-Prowse is just huge for them.
Absolutely. I think they need another striker for me. You know, if Ward-Prowse is finishing your top goal scorer with only 10 goals, that's an issue. I think Shea Adams had 7 from memory. Yeah. You know, that's not enough for your main striker. And even the other bloke that came in, his name escapes me, but we've spoken about him a couple of times last season. The bloke that came in on loan, he scored a bag during his short stint. So, you know, I think they need someone full time up there, and maybe Shea Adams plays second string, because from what we've seen so far from him, you know, hasn't really proved himself to be that main number 9 Southampton. Probably not since Danny Ings left. Actually, they sort of filled his boots, and then all the weight's been put back onto Ward-Prowse's shoulders, sort of carry the team with the set pieces and stuff. So yeah, they're sort of the 2 points for me that will help them escape relegation. You know, if they can get a few more signings in, definitely a striker. You know, you keep Ward-Prowse fit. I think that'll just be enough for me, for them. But it's going to be pretty touch and go, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Southampton are known for producing some pretty decent talent, so hopefully they find a diamond in the rough somewhere, or some part of their academy, someone comes through, because God knows they've produced plenty of decent players over the years. So I think now more than ever, they really require just someone to break through, someone to come out of nowhere and not anchor the team. They don't have to do that, but they just need to show something that, I mean, let's face it, it's not a super talented team at the moment in terms of the first 11. So someone that can just bring something different to that team.
Well, that's all we're going to have time for. If you are a fan of any of these 4 teams that we've spoken about, and you agree or disagree with anything we've said, make sure you let us know. We love the interaction in the comments. We'll be working through our next 4 teams next time. But stay tuned as the action ramps up towards the Premier League season. The videos are only going to come quick and fast. So, Tazza, appreciate your time, mate. If you are new, make sure you subscribe. We've got a large percentage of our viewers that aren't subscribed to the channel. Keep up to date with all the videos. Make sure we're liking the videos as well if you're enjoying them. It helps the videos a great deal. So we appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time.